Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and double honors due to Yahweh, Bahashim Hamashiach, wa Malak Yahushai. Secondly, this is Brother Yardan, W5 Detroit, coming back at you with yet another cold cut. Today in this cold cut, our main topic will be astrology and astronomy. Right? Is this terminology found in the scriptures? If so, is the Lord accept or allow us to perform and to participate in such activities? Right? Is it okay in the eyes of the Lord for us to call ourselves after the signs that man may call Pisces or Sagittarius? Or is it wicked? Where in the scriptures can we find and discover where it speaks about these things? Right, and that's what we'll be touching on in this lesson. So Lord willing, by the end of this video, Israel, right, scattered to and fro throughout the four corners of this world, you may get edified, right, through the spirit and power, the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So we're going to dive right into it. And I think a good place for us to start is to get the understanding of the word astrology. So let's get it. The source we'll be using is Etymology Online, right? Etymology Online Dictionary is a pretty decent, accurate source when it comes to understanding the root of words, and it goes as far as to actually provide the definition as well. Right, so astrology, the calculation and foretelling based on observing, it's like observation of heavenly bodies. From Latin astrologia, astronomy, it's like the astronomy, science of the heavenly bodies. From Greek astrologia, astrology literally a telling of stars. Right? So as you continue to read down, and I recommend Israel to actually, follow along, pause the video if need be, or do further research on your own to get a better, clear understanding as well, right? Because there may be some things that it may leave out, but even as it says in Sirach, a wise man will hear a sentence and add thereunto. So originally identical with astronomy and including scientific observations and descriptions, the special sense of astronomy applied to prediction of events, right, was divided into natural astrology, the calculation or foretelling of natural phenomena, such as tides, eclipse, dates, churches, and festivals. And that's fairly accurate, right? That's pretty accurate. And is not, I would say, is not the worst thing if you have ears to hear, right? Because I'll bring out some precepts. There's nothing necessarily wrong to an extent with the terminology of astrology, because you're studying these stars and signs, right, to get a better understanding of what may to come. However, with that being said, right, you don't run off with that and say, oh, see, he said it's okay, so I can do it, right? You don't have that wisdom, Ak, or Sis, or Akwaf. You don't have that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as our forefathers did back in the times of old. You don't know how Orion was made, and you don't know the true intent or purposes of Pleiades or Arcturus. With that being said, you should not take what was just said previously and run off with it. Don't be simple, right? This is for pure edification purposes, right? In an ancient world, right, we've, for lack of better words, Esau calls it astronomy, but in the ancient world, we had a different terminology for it. And of course, we'll bring out the precepts as well when we dive into Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter. But the main thing I want to point is how our forefathers actually understood and realized the purpose of the circulations of the stars, moons, and a host of heaven. With that, let's start with 1 Chronicles, chapter 12, verse 32. And it reads, and the children of Issachar, right? Those are the so-called Mexicans today, right? This message, this video is in particular for the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are the children of Israel. All right, you understand? So again, reading, and the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. The heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their command. It's like all their brethren were at their commandment. So when it says in the scriptures they understood the time, that's just not on a low level where they could kind of perceive it's the evening, That's on a high, deeper level. To some, we may call, or for some today may call, astronomy, right? Studying the stars, understanding that it holds its purpose when it comes for harvesting, when it comes to maybe even weather and understanding how the weather may move, right? So that's astronomy. And to an extent, there's nothing too, super wicked about it. But a lot of you Israelites, you would say, well, look, I'm an astronomer now. And brother, you need your clock and your phone to look at the time. Our forefathers didn't need that. Brother, you would get bugged out. One moment, now you're trying to count all the damn stars. You got your you got your damn magnifying glass staring up at the sun, staring up at the moon, just losing your mind, lusting after it. And the scriptures speak against that. But before we dive into that portion, I also want to mention on how the stars, the sun, and the moon, they were meant for us, right? So that we may understand the signs and the times. So let's get that in Genesis. Let's get that in Genesis chapter 1. Jake, you can't even tell your left from the right. When you perform your arms, you let your right hand know what your left hand do. So you can't even discern the base carnal things of this world. You can't even understand Daniel or Matthew. You can't even understand the simple parables. Yet you may want to venture off and dive into astronomy or dive into the studying of stars. It's folly. First, it's like this, Genesis chapter 1. And we'll start at verse 18. Instead of verse 16. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So it's speaking about this is obviously the story of creation and how the Lord made the sun, the moon, and the constellations along, which is the stars. Right? Verse 17, and God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and divided the light from the darkness. God saw that it was good, and it is good, even unto us, unto this very hour. It's a beautiful thing to wander and ponder upon the works of the Lord. It tells you that in Psalms 27:4. It's like in Proverbs. I believe it's Proverbs. Let's get this. The book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 4. It's like it might be Psalms. Psalms 27:4. Slip of the tongue. Psalm chapter 27, verse 4. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord. So there's a lot to behold and to be, in awe about on what the Lord created. Not to say you should venture too far off and start worshiping his creation, but more so acknowledge it, And when we see this, when we see the rainbow in the sky, brothers like, dang, all praise to the Most High. We get hyped. So when we see the stars and these constellations in the summertime, when you in this real more so visible, and we say, dang, look at the Lord, look at the Most High. We get excited, And that's a good spirit to be in, because that's you acknowledging the works of the Lord. You're acknowledging Yahweh Yahweh Shai. You don't think the Lord likes to be acknowledged? Remember, this is a relationship. We're Israel, personified as a woman in the scripture, and our husband is the Lord. So for you brothers that may have a wife, it feel good when your wife kind of say, that's my man. Yeah, my man did this. He kind of fixed the toilet. Hey, my man know how to do this. So, that make the man feel kind of mighty. Make the man feel pretty good through the spirit. Yeah, girl, he fixed the toilet. And I saw him lift up the groceries. That was mighty. I like how he lifted up those groceries. That's us with the Lord. Dang, look at the Lord made those stars. The Lord did the rainbow. See how he did that rock? He kind of sculpted it. You see that one cloud? That cloud looked like a bird. The Lord did that. So the Lord likes to be glorified. That's something that's very important to understand. The Lord loves to be glorified. You'll be a fool not to glorify in the works of the Lord. Now let me bring it back up to Genesis 1 and 14. Because again, these hosts of the heavens, these stars, these lights, I would say, they serve a purpose, as do everything else in this earth. Everything serves a purpose. Even a centipede, from the gnat to the damn mosquito, even to the bat, all of which, or whom, whatever, they serve a purpose. How much more the stars and the lights? And God said, this is Genesis 1 and 14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. So when you see these stars, and I'll say lights. When you see these lights in the heaven, you're supposed to remember that they're literally here for two reasons. Three, really, because Most High made it to be as such. But also, right, to give us light and to rule the day and the night, and to also give us, or also to be present, so we can see them, or so we can behold them for signs and seasons. The Lord didn't say to be worshipped. I mean, as we continue in this lesson, we'll bring out the precepts on how even the stars and our host of heaven, they worship the Lord. Right? We're not supposed to worship the creation of the Lord or the artwork, but more so the artist. So let's move on. What is out the way? So let's bring out Psalm chapter 8, verse 3. It says, when I consider thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained. What is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visitest him? So again, when I considered thy heavens, the work of thy fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained. So even David could consider and just pretty much be in awe of the things that the Most High made on this earth. Of course, chiefly with the Most High in mind. So like, yeah. Chiefly when the Most High is in mind. Let's get that in Sirach 39. Well, before we get that, let's continue on. Let's get Sirach 18 and 1. You gotta remember who runs the show. He that liveth forever created all things in general. The Lord only is righteous, and there is none other but he. Whoso governeth the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will. So all things obey his will, from the animals to the grass, to the clouds, to the elements, even to the lights in heaven. All things obey his will. Let's prove that. Let's bring out Psalms 136. Before we get that, let's actually get Psalms 138. See if that's it. Bring that out. Select it, Psalms 148. Psalms 148 and 3. Praise ye him. Outside of verse 1. Praise ye the Lord from the heavens. Praise him in the heights. Praise ye him, all his angels. Praise ye him, all his host. Praise ye him, sun and moon. Praise him, all ye stars of light. Praise him, ye heavens of earth. It's like your heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens. So when it says pray ye stars, pray ye waters, pray ye lights, in other words, it's simply saying be subject unto the Lord, because the Lord has governance over you, as we read in Sirach 18 and 1 on down. The world is in the palm of his hands. And with the world in the palm of your hands, that means you have full jurisdiction into manipulating the elements, and everything in between. The way the wind blows this way and the way the wind blows that way, the Lord has full governance and jurisdiction between all of that. So that's why it says, praise ye even the heavens. So if we ever catch you being an Israelite, end up praising the stars or praising the moon or the waters or fire, I mean, you're going to get a sharp rebuke. I might want to, brothers may want to get physical because it's so idiotic to worship the creation instead of the creator. Matter of fact, let's get that in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13. Yeah, I've heard brothers, they get so bugged out in worshiping the creation. I've heard certain so-called black niggas, they'll say, hey, Ak, and they'll say Ak. People in the world, they'll say, hey, Ak, in the stars, that's our ancestors. Our ancestors are living within the stars. And you see when the sun gets black, that's Mother Earth being upset with her husband. That's that dumb, deep talk, right? This Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1. Surely vain are all men by nature who are ignorant of God, and cannot out of the good things that are seen known him that is, neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the work master. So they'll see and consider the works, but not fully fathom the work master. And that's Esau, and that's the atheist, right? Anybody that believes in the Big Bang, right, they're acknowledging the work instead of the work master. But deemed either fire or wind or swift air or the circulation of the stars, or to be violent waters or the lights of heaven, to be the God which governed the world. So some people go as far as get tattoos. It's like a lot of people say, well, look, I'm a Pisces. That's a lot of what Eve do. They dabble into that. Like a natural witch would. She would dabble into the stars and the constellations to so-called foretell or to predict or to get an understanding on the nature of man. But that's folly. That's false. No star can reveal your nature, or no constellation can reveal your personal nature or your personality. That's it. Shaniqua, he a Sagittarius and I'm a Libra. I knew that nigga would do this. Yeah, girl, you gotta watch out for them, them Sagittarius, you gotta watch for them Libras. I mean, that's folly. You're literally giving these constellations power over you. You're allowing this star to have power over you so much to where you say this star dictates my personality and my characteristics. That's giving your life over to something. I believe it tells you in Sirach 33. Well, look, we're not going to get too deep. I'll get back to the main point. Right? Which is people just pretty much are worshiping, damn stars. And damn, that's so wicked. And that's actually referred to as astrology, right? Calculations and foretelling based on observation of heavenly bodies, right? Heavenly bodies, if I'm not mistaken, is just another term for constellations. From Latin, astrologia, right? Astronomy, literally a telling of stars. And they say your future is written in the stars. That's the old saying as well. I was reading matter of fact, check this out. Bear with me. Is this what I want? See this? Oh, wow, let's read this. Some medieval Muslims took a keen interest in the study of astrology, partly because they considered the celestial bodies to be essential, partly because the dwellers of the desert region often traveled at night and relied upon knowledge of constellations for guidance in their journeys. And to an extent, there's nothing, exactly wrong with that. As I mentioned before, similarly, according to 1 Corinthians 12 and 32, our forefathers did the same. In fact, they did it first, right? After the advent of Islam, Muslims needed to determine the time of prayers, the direction of Kaaba, and the correct orientation of the mosque, all of which helped them. Okay, this might not be what I wanted. That might not be what I wanted. I had it pulled up earlier. I'm not sure what happened to it. I think they may be getting that mixed up with astronomy. But nevertheless, you understand that astrology is wicked. All right, let's pull that out. It's Deuteronomy 18 and 8. Or 18 and we'll start at verse 10. Verse 10. There shall not be found among you any one that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter or a witch. Right? And again, those are the same people that pick up your palms, read your palms. They use the tarot cards, or they may even go as far as to look deep into the stars to try to, falsely predict the things that may happen in your future. Again, that's astrology, whereas astronomy is more so the usage of, it's like you're using the stars for your advantage when it comes to again traveling and understanding the harvest for your agriculture, right? And even as far as to maybe understanding what the weather may be, right? If you want to go that deep into it. Again, we don't have that full understanding and knowledge as we had in the ancient days. Let's get into an example. This Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 17. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made and the operations of the elements, the beginning, ending, and the midst of times, the alterations of the turning of the sun and the change of seasons, the circuit of years and position of stars. Right? So Solomon actually had the understanding of that. And again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that because the Lord gave him that knowledge. Therefore, it's not wicked in itself, but it's what you do with that knowledge. Right? That's why it says in Sirach 39. Let's pull that out. I'm gonna add it up somewhere. Sirach 27. I might have to bring it up. Slakia 39 and 27. Let's see if that's what I want. Khan. Sirach 39 and 27. All these things are good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. So a lot of things are made for our benefit. However, if you're of a wicked heart and just have your own malicious, ideas, I mean, yeah, you're gonna turn into evil, for sure. Right? That's plain upon tables. And let me get another precept. So Solomon, he had the wisdom. He understood the constellation of the stars and their purposes and how they really serve us, not us serving them. It's like it is First Kings, chapter 11, verse 6. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord and went not fully after the Lord as did David, It's like as did David his fathers. Then did Solomon build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and the hills that is before Jerusalem, and for Moloch, or Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. So that's what Solomon did. He had the knowledge, he had the wisdom, and he turned it into madness and wickedness and lewdness. It's good to the godly, but the evil turned into wickedness. That's why it says in Ecclesiastes, let's get this. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 13. And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven. This sore travail hath God given the sons of man to be exercised therewith. So let me jump up. This is what I want. Verse 17. Let me jump down to verse 17. And I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit. So he also gave his mind to know madness and folly. So you can only imagine what he did with the understanding of knowing the operations of the sun, moon, and the stars, and other things of that nature. You don't want to abuse the knowledge of the Lord. I believe it says in Job 31 and 27. It say this, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand. Let me start verse 26. If I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand. And some Israelites move in that nature. Or he may do that with other things of this earth as well, with idols or rappers or whatever the case may be. But in this particular context, and also to this lesson, a lot of jakes, they do that when it comes to the lights in heaven. They may say, damn, that's cold. Oh, that's what it means when they kiss their hand. They kind of get so shocked, so full of joy, to where it just turned into folly and madness. It just turns into folly, man. And we want to get some examples on how that turned into folly, right? We're bringing out minor examples. We're going to go a little bit deeper as well, right? Because you got to understand the Lord made these stars literally for its purpose. And you have to understand on a deeper level, why they're set up. This is Job chapter 9, verse 9. I'll start at verse 8. I'll start at verse 7. Which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars. So in this chapter, even the wise men of the days of old, during the patriarchal time, they could understand and realize the Lord set in place everything on earth. And he's given an account. Which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, and sealeth up the stars. It's like and sealeth up the stars, which alone spreadeth out the heavens, and treadeth upon the waves of the sea, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades in the chambers of the south. So what's Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades? We got to figure these things out. The Lord said, be not ignorant of anything, whether it be of a small matter or great. It also says in Sirach chapter 6, verse 26. Let's bring that out. Search and, I'll paraphrase it. Search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee. So let's bring that out. Bring out Job. Let's go into the blue letter. Job chapter 9, verse 9. Right, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades. Bear with me. All right, that's all right. So see that? It's blue letter. Sound kind of acting up. That's all right. All right, but nevertheless, here you see it. All right, this blue letter, a constellation, the Great Bear, Ursa Major. Ursa Major, also known as the Great Bear, is the third largest constellation in the sky and the largest constellation in the northern hemisphere. It includes the Big Dipper, asterism, and one of the most recognizable constellation of the stars in the northern hemisphere. So you may see this at night. You may see this during the summertime when the stars are at its most visible. Now you can see this and you can kind of of course throw up all praise to the Most High. Look at His creation. Look at what He did. But that's as far as you want to go. That's as far as you should want to say. And again, best believe the Most High made this for a reason. We don't have that in-depth, deep knowledge anymore. The Lord said, "Ye are gods, but ye shall die like men." So that's that so-called Great Bear. A constellation, perhaps Great Bear. So that's Arcturus. What about Pleiades? What's going on with Pleiades? Or it's like Orion. Now that's a little bit more common to some may refer to it as Orion's belt, but it's a constellation, of course. I believe in particularly 3 notable stars that's found in the sky. Right? Orion's belt, or the belt of Orion, also known as the 3 kings or 3 sisters. See, and that's where Esau just started naming everything. In the constellation of Orion, it consists of 3 bright stars. See that? It's a better picture. Orion's belt. Now Esau coined the term Orion's belt, but according to the scriptures, it just say Orion. So what is the deep meaning behind this? That is yet to be known or revealed unto us. So we got one more. We got one more tucked in there. You got Pleiades. Right? The constellation of 7 stars. Commonly called as Pleiades or 7 stars, Esau calls it M45, is known as an open star cluster. It contains over thousands of stars that are loosely bound by gravity. That's what Esau says. That's what Esau says, but what did the Lord say? Let's bring that out. But, well, yeah, let's get that real quick. Let's see what the Lord says about that. Because I backed it different. Esau always got to be obtuse. What was that? Matter of fact, let's just read it on here. 38 and 31. Job 38 and 31. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? Only the Most High knows if they're loosened or binded. Esau just assuming. How do you know? Loosely by gravity. See that? See that? That's why you can't go too far into your own thoughts. And it says in Amos 5 and 8, seek him that maketh the seven stars, that's Pleiades, and Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into morning, and maketh the dark day, or the day dark with night. And so, as you continue to read, but the main point I really want to extract is that maketh the seven stars in Orion. So Amos, and remember these brothers, these mighty men, they was born in different time periods. Job was around during the patriarchal time period. Amos around kings, if I'm not mistaken. And yet you still see that shared knowledge expanded throughout time. But you ask a brother down the street what Pleiades is, he's gonna think that's a new type of weed. He's gonna think that's a new car. He may think that's a basketball player. You say Pleiades, that brother may think you repping a set. So our men now, they don't know what's going on. They have no idea. They don't know what's going on. Let's bring out Luke 21. Before we get that, let's bring out but I was gonna bring out 2 Kings 23 and 5. Might as well. (23 and 5). That's not right. 23. Here we go. This is what I want. Right, he put down the idolatrous priests, whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the round places about Jerusalem, them also that burnt incense unto Baal, and to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets. What does it mean by planets? It's going to tell you what those so-called planets are. They're really, let's see what it's saying. Oh, I believe they removed that definition. Right, it's really stars. It's really stars. They kind of removed that. Let me see if make sure I got that. Did I click? See into the planets. Yep, to the stars. Right, constellations. Now you seeing zodiac sign, you kind of losing your mind right now. I know it. Hold up, brother. We're gonna get to it in a second. We'll get to that in a second. Right, that's Mazareth. You also find that in the book of Job, which we'll get next. Let's get Job. Let's make it easier for ourselves. Should tell us at the bottom. Okay, maybe not. Right? Mazareth is a biblical word found in Job 38 and 32 and literally meaning constellations. Right? So where are we at? Let's get verse 32. Canst thou bring forth Mazareth in his seasons? Because these stars, these constellations, they come in at their appointed time. Everything on earth, again, I'm going to keep saying it, serves its due purpose. Even the trees that are upon the earth, right? They all yield fruit different times of the year and in different quantity. Or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? What's with his sons? The other stars, other certain mystery and the skies that we don't really have the knowledge of. And, Jake, you get so mad at that you actually venture off into other books trying to obtain and seek that knowledge. But you have to realize, knowing that you're an Israelite, I mean, that's one of the biggest known mysteries, you know, that's been revealed. And you know that, right? You know you're an Israelite. That was one of the biggest mysteries of the world. Who are the real Jews? And now you know, you know? So you don't have to go too far deep into the deep end. We go too deep, I mean, you start to drown. You start to drown. So let's go to the book of Acts. Let's get Acts 28 and 11. Right? So again, you can't dabble into astrology. That's wicked. Neither, and I'll say it. Neither should you really be going into astronomy. That's not your lot. Everybody has their lot. Everybody has things to focus on and examine. Israel, your lot isn't to dive deep into astronomy. That's not your lot, brother. You don't even know. You can't even weight a fire, actually. First of all, you can't even weight fire. You can't measure the blast of a wind. I mean, you walk outside, you'll think you're pointing at the same star you saw the other day. Well, that's a whole other star. That's not your lot, brother. Hold up. I don't like when it's like this. Oh, this Bible Hub. Acts 28 and 11. Right? This Acts 28 and 11. Let's start at verse 10. Right? Because Paul was on his island. He was on Malta. And I believe that's south of, let's pull that up actually. South of Italy. So it says, and when they were escaped, then they knew that the island was called Malta, or Melta, if you want to read it, like an Englishman. But it's really, if I'm not mistaken, currently they call it Malta. Right. So Paul was on these islands. He went all over the place. And during that time, a lot of barbarians were dwelling there. I mean, as you continue to read, and the barbarous people showed us no little kindness, for they kindled a fire and received us every one, because of the present rain and because of the cold. And when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on fire, there came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. It bit him. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves, no doubt this man is a murderer, whom thou he hath escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffereth not to live. So they had an idea of judgment, but not according to knowledge, right? Because everything that happens to you isn't always judgment from the Lord. It tells you that in Ecclesiastes, I believe the 11th chapter, there's a tree that falleth in the south and it falls. Sometimes things, on a carnal level, things just happen, right? Not everything is judgment per se. If you have ears to hear, right, you getting laid off. That brother, that may not be you getting judged. That company, which is wicked, and it went belly under. That's why you got laid off, Ak. I mean, at the end of the day, we understand the Most High. He makes everything happen, but you don't want to always be that guy that just says judgment, judgment, judgment. Paper cut, judgment. Drop my plate, judgment. Don't be that guy that now you're being superstitious. Now you're thinking like a barbarian, as they were. And it reads in 28 and 5, and he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm. Howbeit they looked when he should have swollen or fallen down dead suddenly. But after they had looked, a great while and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said that he was a god. Yeah, so they're double minded. In the same quarters were possessions of the chief men of the island, whose name was Publius. That's a Roman name. So Rome actually, I believe, annexed that area, who received us and lodged us 3 days courteously. I'm gonna jump down right when he begins to leave. And after 3 months, we departed in a ship of Alexandria. In a ship of Alexandria, which had wintered into the isle whose sign was Castor and Pollux. Now we get into it. Who's Castor and Pollux? And why was that on a ship? Why was that the sign? Well, let's dive into it. Castor and Pollux were the twin of sons of Jupiter, right? Jupiter is the Roman name of Zeus. Because remember, when you go into Greek culture and history, they had their proper god that went by the name Zeus. But when the Romans came over and ruled, they worshipped what Greeks worshipped, but under a different name. So Zeus' name in the Roman tongue and the Roman culture is Jupiter. And Leda, right? I believe that was his wife. And regarded as the tutelary divinities of sailors. But there's more to that, right? Because remember, these were the sons of Jupiter, right? Castor and Pollux. So let's look up Castor and Pollux. Castor and Pollux, Polydeuces, are twin half-brothers in Greek and Roman mythology, known together as Dioscuri or Dioscuri, however you pronounce it. Their mother was Leda, but they had different fathers. Castor was the immortal son of Tyndareus and the king of Sparta, while Pollux was the divine son of Zeus, who assaulted Leda in the guise of a swan. That's folly, right? But as you continue to read on, in Latin, the twins are also known as the Gemini, which literally means twins. So you will see that one of the 12 zodiac signs is literally Gemini. Remember the Greeks? A lot of them was astrologers. See that? You dive deep. Don't dive too deep, right? Don't dive too deep. But if you want to know a little bit more, you can damn near don't want to tell Jake to dive into it. The scriptures say all things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. And the Lord also said, "Prove thy soul and see what is good for it, and give not that which is evil unto it." So you got Gemini. Right, Gemini is represented by the twins Castor and Pollux, known as the Dioscuri in Greek mythology. See that? Who share their names with the constellations of the constellations, two brightest stars. Right. So if that's accurate, then those two stars, according to Roman culture and history, that was Castor and Pollux. See that? That's why you can't dabble into zodiac signs. Because really, you're literally giving these false gods power over your life, dictating. And let's just get an example. And that's where astrology is tied into horoscopes too, really. All right. So first of all, Gemini is a false god. Let's get that. Let's get that straight. All right. Whatever these things mean, right? But what is this? It says this day presents an excellent opportunity to spend quality time. I mean, this is just idolatry. It's literally idolatry. If you wake up and go on this every morning, you're into idolatry. The Lord said, "Thou shalt have no other gods beside me." So Castor and Pollux, I mean, those are false gods. The pair were regarded as patron of sailors. See that? So that's why it says when you go back to dang. That's why it says when you go back to Acts. Let's get it. Let's get that back real quick. Acts 28 and 11. Right? The divinities of sailors. That's Castor and Pollux. And they were found in this island full of barbarians. Because they was worshiping them. That's why. So you got to use wisdom in these last days, and remember, and remember not to worship carnal things and things that were made by God. You can't worship them. Let's get a few more. We'll wind down. Let's get two more. Let's get Psalms 148. Luke, I had another one. I had a big whiteboard. Just get one more. Luke, this is 21 and 25. And there should be signs in the sun and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, and the seas and the waving roaring, men's heart failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Right, this kingdom is going to fall. Right, and the Lord is giving you these instruments of the heavens for a sign, such as the moon, the stars, earthquakes. Right, all of which will be a sign and a token for you in these last days to remember that the Lord is coming back soon. Verse 27. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So that's astrology and astronomy. Lord willing, Israel's been edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Right? Lord willing, Israel's been edified and may understand that you can't dabble off into I would say you can't dabble off into astrology and astronomy. That's not your place on earth. The Lord said, in Ecclesiastes 12 and 12, the whole duty of man is to keep the commandments. Right? The Lord didn't say the whole duty of man is to be an astrologist or an astronomer or to read your horoscope every day. But with that, I'm going to bid Israel Shalom.